I didn't think I was going to make a video about this. I really didn't. But today, at Rogers Arena, we had ourselves the final Vancouver Canucks media availability for all the guys that were pretty important in forming the 21-22 Canucks season in the way that it went down. There's an entire 1 hour long live stream that the Canucks did on Twitter, so I'll leave a link in the description if you want to go ahead and watch that. There also is a timeline so you can skip it. If you're on the phone, it's really cool because you can hold down on the screen and you can skim through it that way, but either way, there also are some individual videos that the Canucks posted on their Twitter account of guys like Chiasson and Pettersson and Hughes and Horvat and all that talking about their post-season media availabilities, so you can go ahead and check out those as well if you so wish to. But I wanted to talk about the media availability not just because we had some pretty good answers from some pretty good hockey players about some pretty interesting things, but because there was one part in the interview that got Canucks social media really bogged down in a way. We're talking about Brock Boeser. And I want to go out there and say that this entire commentary and everything that I've said about Brock over the past few years has all come from a place of love. You know I love Brock Boeser. I was freaking out about this guy every time he scored a goal in his rookie season, and every time he came back to life over the next few years, I was getting super excited because I love Brock. I have his North Dakota jersey, for crying out loud. And so, anytime we go out there and critique Brock Boeser and we talk about how he's not doing all too well, he's in a slump, whatever, it's always because we know he can do better. And I think this situation that was discussed in today's Canucks postseason availability might lend itself as to some of the insights as to what's going on behind the eyes and between the ears as to what could have also influenced the way this season and the past few weeks have gone. So, Brock Boeser, on a media availability segment with Elias Pettersson, Quinn Hughes, and Connor Garland, was asked by Ben Kuzma about how exactly it's been to go through the season, knowing that he has, been the player that he's been. He was in a contract year this season, and he, in some people's minds, you could say he disappointed. Even in my mind, you could say he sort of disappointed this year, considering he got a lot more points last year in fewer games. But either way, Brock Boeser gave a good answer. The Vancouver Canucks are normally trained pretty well to deal with the media because Vancouver media can be pretty harsh at times, but Boeser gives a good answer as to how the season has gone. He talked very honestly about how some parts in the season he felt like he needed to be better and he wasn't making an impact out there and the team wouldn't do as well because of that. And I really do like the accountability that he was able to take when answering for himself on the podium. And then he also said that there were some off-ice things that he was going through as well that definitely did not make anything easier on the ice. And of course, he's referring to his father, Duke, who has not had the best of health over the past few years. And it's been something that a lot of Canucks fans have sort of been seeing here and there over the past few years. But of course, it's always a very difficult topic to talk about. You don't want to cross any boundaries with these things. You don't want to come across as insensitive because Brock Boeser is a guy that cares for his family a lot. And we kind of got a hint at that when he said that there was some off-ice stuff that was making things difficult during the season. Ben Kuzma, though, the interviewer for The Province, goes out there and he doubles down, and he says, I don't know if it's fair for me to ask, but, and then he goes out and he asks how Brock's father is doing, to which Boeser then takes a long time to really collect himself, and it's just so disheartening to watch. Because you could see him really start to tear up. He's looking all sad. I'm not going to put pictures on the screen. You can go ahead and watch the video if you want to see that, but that's not what I'm going to do here. But he's tearing up. He's starting to wipe his eyes. Quinn Hughes even says, after Boeser takes a moment, he's like, next question. And then Boeser's like, no, I can answer it. And then he does. He talks about his father and gives an update on his health. Again, you can go ahead and watch the video if you want to get the information as to what he says, but Brock does indeed power through, and he gives an answer to the question before Quinn Hughes and Elias Pettersson get asked something else, and you could still hear Brock Boeser sniffling on the microphone, and then a few seconds later he gets up and he leaves. The next few questions for Pettersson and Hughes were talking about Brock as well. They were talking about how they want to be a support system for the guy, and they know he's a great teammate and he's a great player when he's at his best, etc., etc. All the good stuff you want to see for the camaraderie building of this team. But I wanted to give some props first and foremost because Brock, man, that's a tough freaking question. It's a really tough one, and you could see it's not necessarily like he didn't want to answer it, it's just that he had a really difficult time doing so because obviously when you're talking about your loved ones in such a vulnerable state that they could be in, that's not easy to digest and verbalize and talk in front of, I don't know what it is, but like 20, 30 people in Rogers Arena's press room to just go out there and just share, right? Like, it's a tough thing to really translate into words onto a microphone. So good on Brock for being able to answer a question that he probably shouldn't have been asked, in my opinion. You could even hear it in Ben Kuzma's voice. He was really hesitant to say it as well. There's a whole bunch of backlash now going on about Ben Kuzma. Oh, why'd you have to ask that question? Why'd you have to do that? I mean, journalists are going to do what journalists are going to do. But if you want to go ahead and look at Thomas Drance, this is what he said about the entire matter. Boeser was deeply emotional in discussing his challenges away from the ice this season, particularly the worsening condition of his father, Duke. He's wanted the situation to be kept private, but Boeser and his family have been dealing with a lot away from the rink this year. This is what Nav replies. Nav Deschange from the Larshcast. He says, "I know you didn't ask it, Drance, but was that question necessary? I feel everyone knew what's happening, and even if they didn't, it's no one's business. Pretty unnecessary, in my opinion." Drance replied and he said, "I mean, I've known about Brock and his father's health conditions since November, and I've been discussing it with Brock off the record without giving a hint of the situation publicly. So that should tell you everything about how I see it." And that's kind of more of the territory that I sort of feel comfortable in staying in. Like, if I was a journalist, which I'm not, I just like to say I'm a fan that talks about these things on YouTube, but if I was a journalist, obviously you're talking to these players a lot, and you're having conversations with them that don't always get reported on a microphone for a podcast, for a TV interview, or for a radio hit. You're not always talking about the business. You're talking about other stuff. Hey, so I heard you visited that restaurant downtown. What was it like? Oh, how's your father doing? Oh, he's pretty good. Something like that. Like, you know what these conversations are like. I assume most of my audience consists of normal people, so you know what it's like conversing with random guys just in a friendly, non-formal setting. Like, it's just casual. And that's what Drance is saying this entire Boeser thing has been for him. That yes, he talks to Brock about it, and he has been over the past few months, but it's never really a professional on-the-job, okay, here's an interview we're going to publish for The Athletic, or it's going to go on the Canucks Twitter channel, kind of thing. And so there are indeed boundaries that journalists have to not only like legally abide by, but also feel. You could sense that Boeser was already getting somewhat choked up, even hinting that there were external parts of his life that sort of held him back a little bit on the ice. And so doubling down on that and saying, hey, so give us an update, your father, etc., like, I don't know how comfortable I would have been asking that question, but I guess journalists have a very difficult job in deciding what it is, so I don't know. Am I giving Kuzma the benefit of the doubt? I don't know if I really want to do that, to be honest, because that's a really tough situation to be putting somebody through. So, yeah, all we can do now is just really do what we've been doing the past few weeks, months, even years for some people, to just keep on wishing for all the best for the Boeser family, send lots of love to Brock because of everything that's been going on around him. Obviously, I've been critical of his season this season, and I don't want to make it seem like I've talked about him as if he was a saint this entire time. Like, I certainly have had my critiques about his game, but there is a big part of me that says, okay, let's say Brock Boeser plays 2022-2023 in Vancouver. It's under Bruce the entire time, and he's not dealing with all this off-ice turmoil. Let's say he's completely mentally free. How good is that Brock Boeser? How good is that guy on the ice on a Vancouver squad that has a better coach and that has a lot of potential heading into the long-term future? Like, sure, Miller's not going to be here anymore. I think it's likely he's going to get traded. But, like, having a bigger opportunity for guys like Pettersson and Brock, you already had Petey and Hughes playing on the penalty kill. Hey, why not Brock? Like, I'm just going out there and throwing things out there because we know Brock didn't have the best season this year. But if you assume that he is significantly better next year, how exactly does that go? Is he $7.5 million qualifying offer good? I don't know. But that's a question that remains to be seen. So let me know in the comments all your thoughts about the Canucks and their postseason media availability. I didn't really mean to make a 9-minute video talking about only Brock Boeser, but here we are, I guess. So let me know in the comments all your thoughts. The video is going to be in the description if you want to go ahead and watch it. It's on Twitter, so it'll be there if you have an account. I hope you enjoyed this video, Trolls 99, and bye.